What is up, you guys? Happy Monday. Welcome to the very first episode of Chirping on Causeway, brought to you by Boston Sports Entertainment Network. My name is Emily.
My name is Liv.
And we're pumped to be here. We're also terrified, so cut us some slack if you're listening.
Yeah, just a little bit for this first episode.
Yeah. So, Liv, let's start off with introducing ourselves. Why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into being a Boston sports fan.
Alrighty, so my name is Liv. I'm born and raised in Salem, Mass, and I was born into a huge hockey family, so didn't really have a choice, but obviously very thankful. So I've been a Bruins fan and really just a big hockey fan in general. That's really our only sport, so that's all I'm really knowledgeable in, but I've been a fan since as long as I can remember, and it brings me the most joy, which is probably crazy, but I don't know, I love the sport, I love the league, and I just love all the friends I've made now, which is crazy. So
yeah,
and things like this come up, which is awesome, and
yeah.
I don't know, it's just I've always been a big fan. Yeah.
I love it. And what is your Twitter so that people can find you?
So my my Twitter is Frent Frederick, which shout out to Jack Edwards because that's where the name came from, because
Yes.
I love him so much. And hey, it's a tricky name. So he would just often say Frent instead of Trent. So I had to do that as my Twitter name. I only changed it to that about maybe last winter or something. I was like, he says it so often, instead of just tweeting it, let me just make it. Thankfully, it was available. So
Yes.
I'm glad someone else didn't snatch it before I came up. Well, not me come up with it, but
Yes. Somebody, yes.
Yeah.
In the general, yeah.
Yeah,
funny.
right.
Funny.
How about
Well,
you?
I am Emily. I am from upstate New York originally. I grew up with a big brother who bullied me into liking all sports and hockey. He played hockey and soccer, so I spent a lot of time at the rink. And at some point actually started liking hockey. Honestly, the first memory I have of actually liking Boston Bruins was sitting on the couch during the 2011 run to the cup. Yeah. I have this hat right there. Yeah. I can't use backwards. That I bought during that run to the cup, and just started being a Bruins fan then. I went to a college that didn't have a football team. We only had a hockey team. So it just kind of continued on from there. So at some point it went from being bullied to actually enjoying the sport somehow. And I don't know how we got there still. But same, I've always exactly. Ever since then, hockey has just been part of my life. You can see on my pucks, I get a new puck every time I go to a new arena, which is really fun. And even though I don't live in the Northeast anymore, I will forever be a diehard Boston Bruins fan for sure. And my Twitter is just my name. It's Hyper Emmy, because in case y'all haven't figured that out, I'm super hyper. Emmy's my name. Here we are. Yes. But I didn't start tweeting about sports until probably last year. And I think the only reason I ever use my Twitter is either to rant about something random or tweet about hockey. That's really it.
It's like a little diary.
Yes. I just said to my husband the other day, it's intrusive thoughts. If you ever want to know my intrusive thoughts about hockey, look at my Twitter, because that's literally all it is intrusive thoughts about hockey.
Yeah. I don't use my notes app. I just go to Twitter. And everyone has to deal with it. Yep.
Oh, I love it. So, of course, Chirping on Causeway, we are going to be talking a lot about Boston Bruins hockey, because we're both huge fans. Even though this year, let's just get into it. This year is...
Let's just dive right in.
Year is a little painful. When you look at it overall, right? It's really not. But I think as Bruins fans, we're used to such a fast start that this year, it's not a bad start overall, but we think it's bad because we're used to something else.
Yeah. We've been a little bit spoiled, especially these past, 2 seasons. It's been a different fall, different beginning than this year. But
you and I were talking earlier, like we're 7-7-2. Like that's not bad for
some people would be ecstatic like about that. So
like if we were the Sharks right now, I'm sure we'd be ecstatic. Or the Preds, I'm sure we'd be ecstatic.
But here we are.
Here we are. I think when we look at that 7-7-2, Liv, what does that really tell you about this team so far?
I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately, I think a lot of our guys not depend on each other to get themselves started, but like I think, I don't know if you want to say we've just had more concrete lines in the past. This year is a bit more of a shuffle in general, just based off our moves that we've like done.
We had a lot of off-season happenings.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think like I've seen it everywhere. Like on paper, this is like a packed team. Like, and some people want to be like, no, it's not, whatever. But like as Bruins fans, we know like it is a solid roster. Like, so I don't really know what's like not.
And it's young. Like I feel like we have a lot of younger guys compared to rosters in the past.
Exactly. We're like, which people used to say like, oh, we're old and now we're young, but we're kind of doing like worse. I use like air quotes because I don't want to say, worse, but we're not having a great start now that we are younger. So it's kind of like backwards a little bit where it doesn't make sense. So I don't know what it's gotta, we were saying earlier, it's gotta just give at some point. Like it's too good. Like they're making silly mistakes. So it's gotta just like disappear at some point. Eventually.
You'd think.
Right. Well, fingers crossed.
Yes. And so looking at the rest of the standings, right? We are third in Atlantic.
Which I'll take.
We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the Eastern. And I think we said what, 16th or 14th overall?
I think we checked earlier and we were 14th this season, which
I mean
better than what were we like last week? Like 23, I think, for a hot second. Yeah.
I'd rather be where we are. Like you can see the growth, right? And you can see these last few games, like, oh, here we go. Hey, look, there we are. You can see there have been some really great games. The games against the Flyers was beautiful, perfect, wonderful.
Everything you want.
And then there's games where you're like, did you guys show up?
Game. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Should we even? No.
Do we want to hurt ourselves?
No, it's already been a bad Monday, so like.
Yes. We'll get to that
later.
in a second.
Everyone knows what that is.
If you pay attention today, we'll chat real quick. Potsy went down to the AHL. We'll come back to that in a second. But I think like overall, like to us, the 7-7-2 doesn't feel great, but realistically, it's not a bad start. And we're only 20% of the way through the game. So we're 16 out of 82 games. Like realistically, it's kind of like a middle ground, like it's not the worst place to be. We did math earlier. Liv and I fact checked ourselves earlier. But I think then that also leads into conversations about particular players. And I'm going to start it off, not with a super controversial one, but I think we have to talk about Pasta, right? Pasta is our leading scorer right now. He's got 14 points, 6 goals, 8 assists. On paper, he's looking great.
Right.
Realistically, when you watch him in a game, I just want to give him a hug and ask him is he okay? Like, we can't keep the puck through the neutral zone. We're looking slow. We're looking sloppy. He's taken more penalties than we typically see from him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, he got sat during the third period the other night because of these things. Like, we're just not seeing the best pasta.
Mm.
It's like, what's, are you okay? Can we
Yeah,
help
we
you?
just want to know
Like,
what can we do? Yeah.
yeah. And then like, I mean, some of these other players we were chatting earlier, Charlie Coyle, -8,
We can say
Trent,
it.
-11.
Terrible.
Like,
I'll say it here first.
some of these guys that we depend on typically
Yeah.
and are usually pretty solid players for us are just not hitting the marks.
Yeah. And it's
but
like,
I also like can't pinpoint something that I'm like, I mean, other than the general, we're seeing a lot of sloppiness. I think we're seeing a lot of sloppiness overall.
terrible
But there's
passes.
there's not one thing that I'm like, every single player is doing this terribly.
Right. It's really confusing. Like, I feel like sometimes when teams have an issue, it's very easy, very cut and dry. You know it. Either we have too many or no one knows what the one biggest one is. And it's, it's not good. Really, like,
No.
-11 is just like.
Is there something different? Just because I know you're like a big fan of his, is there something that you're seeing in his gameplay this year that's different from previous years?
Listen.
I just threw that on you. Sorry, I did not prep you for that question.
No, it's okay, because you know what? Now I have to think on the fly, and it'll be like honest.
Yeah.
He definitely is not winning puck battles, which I thought he was improving on like last year.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, like, and even I've noticed a lot lately, like receiving a pass and then either moving to another pass or just taking ice. Like, he can't really, like, I feel like every pass to him lately goes nowhere, like, or goes to the other team, which is like really frustrating. So sorry, like, and I'm sure that's extra frustrating for the players. Like, I understand it, like, obviously not to their degree, but like, I don't know. I think those are the two biggest things. He's just not strong on the puck, and then it leads to, like, obviously then your stick is not going to be as strong either, and he just can't really I don't know, his movements are not like really making.
I think that's something across the board too. Like, we're having a lot of drop passes, we're having a lot of turnover in the neutral zone, we're having a lot of just like passing 17 times before somebody even tries to make but we're just having a lot of like, it feels like a lot of disconnect between the players. And maybe it is because we have a lot, I'd say a lot, but there's maybe like 5 fresh faces realistically.
Right.
Some of these guys have been either on Providence Bruins or Boston Bruins. You know, they kind of have been around each other for a few years. We have 5, maybe 6 newer guys this year. But it just feels like there's some disconnect between like their hearts and their heads and their sticks.
And it feels big, but it's like you can't, God bless you, by the way. You can't pinpoint it, but it's like, it feels like, I don't know, what were those little things that you could get as a kid? Like the little rock, and you could like crack it open and then you get like a little dinosaur or whatever.
Yes.
We need to find the dinosaur. We need to figure out what is going on, because it's just, or we need someone unexpected to like really just start to, I mean, the fourth line has done that, has been incredible for us.
God bless the fourth line.
Seriously, and I'm pretty sure when I saw the lines earlier that they were put back together.
Yeah.
Thank God, because I feel safest when they're apart. Yeah. We don't need to put them apart anymore. Just like,
and I understand the thought process of like, okay, maybe their greatness is going to leak out into the rest.
But it didn't. It didn't. So let's just trap that together. At least we have one solid 9 right now.
Just give them more time.
Yeah.
on the ice
Mm-hmm.
and stop
Let them
breaking
play the
them
whole
apart.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like,
Just leave them. Just let them do their thing, whatever they got going on.
and I think that leads into like the other half of this conversation that you and I have been seeing a lot on Twitter is Jim
Mm-hmm.
and the lines.
Yeah.
And does that really have this big of an effect that we're seeing a lot of line switches? I think our two most successful games were not last week, but the week before, and we had the same lines for both of those games.
Yep.
But like, do we think that this is on Monty, and do we think that these line changes are really having this big of an effect on the Bruins game?
Yeah. Well,
It can't all be on the coach.
right. I feel like it's very like I don't follow like the football, baseball as much and everything, so I don't know if it's like this in other sports, but I feel like in the NHL, the coaches are usually just like the first to go, the first to take the blame for everything. And in some cases, especially from like the outsider perspective, you want to be like, yeah, duh, like that makes sense, whatever. But now having this like personal experience with like Jim coming in, having such good starts and bringing us, playoffs are another thing, but like having the regular seasons we did, and then now having this, it's kind of like it's easy to maybe be like, oh, he lost the room. Like everyone wants to say that. But I think his mindset, which I can't even hate him for this, not hate him, but I can't be mad at the mindset of like, in his eyes, maybe he feels like he has nothing to lose, like, which I feel like I would feel the same way. Like, hey, so let me just try and it like get better. And if we don't, we don't. And that's, we got to work on that and figure out what it is. But
Yeah. And
I
for those who
agree.
don't know, this is the last year in Monty's current contract. So
Yeah,
he is also up for a contract renewal. So that's why Liv is like, he's got nothing to lose. Either way, he's getting signed again as the coach or he's not.
exactly.
So if I were him, I'd be trying everything that I could to, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
we're not seeing success in what we're doing. So are we going to keep drilling what we know isn't working, or are we going to try to find something new?
and then I honestly, like, this kind of just came across like, but people don't want to put the blame on like Don Sweeney either, but there's only so much Jim can do with like what he's given, like
Yeah.
with the players he's given. So that's where Don comes into it, where it's like, and again, not saying that I agree with like the Maddie P going down to Providence, but we have to make moves like that. Not saying Maddie P should have been the one, but like we have to move people so that we can, give Jim different ideas, different people, different. I
You can
mean,
only have 23 guys on a roster. If you
right.
want somebody new, somebody has to go.
You got to do silly things sometimes. So
Things.
I don't know. I feel for Jim, but I'll be the same one. Like I'll admit it on my Twitter. I'm like, Jim, what are we doing? Blender, like
Yes.
why? But I
And
do
like, yes, he's the head coach, but we also have other coaches too.
exactly.
Like, there is a staff. There's
Yeah.
a whole team of humans that work with these guys day in and day out. It's not just Monty. Like,
Exactly.
he gets so much of the blame. And same, like, I also have been on Twitter being like, why are we switching the lines again, Monty? But
Exactly.
also, like, there's also input from all these other coaches and their trainers that they work with too, being like, oh, from what I've seen, Marchie does work best with pasta, which I don't necessarily agree with this week, but
that's another topic.
That's another topic. But they have a team of humans that look at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, again, though, if it's my last year in my contract, I'm throwing everything on the ice.
Right. Everything I have at my hand right now, I'm going to just try and do something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other players do you think besides Pasta, I feel like Marchie we need a little bit more from too, besides Trent, besides Charlie Coyle's -8, What else do you think like we need from some of these guys?
I I was kind of saying this to my friends last night. The power play for me personally, I think that needs to just be switched up
Yeah,
completely. I think I tossed out to my friends, which these probably like the names won't coincide with like the positions of the power play, but I think we take the fourth line, so like
yeah.
Beecher, Kaslick, and Kepke, and just put them out there. And I even said I was like, you know what, put Mason out there because
He's out there. He's got some reach. I mean,
right,
he's
right.
got the speed. He's got
He's
the
got the
reach that we
offensive
need.
mind a little
But
bit. And then I forget who else I said to put out there. I think I might have said like Kaslick or
sure.
something. Or,
I mean, dude's getting the puck in net. So
right. Just put anyone else to fill that like fifth spot. And I know that sounds bonkers. Like that sounds crazy because no teams usually put out their like, bottom six, type of guys out there. But we're at a point where it's like these are
when
our
your
guys
bottom six are the
producing.
higher performers, what else are you gonna do?
Exactly. So why not just give them one more ice time because they are the only ones who are necessarily like deserving it.
Yeah.
And they're giving us our goals and our connections and our
Yeah.
energy and momentum, and that's what we need right now. So
That's the thing. There's no energy.
it
Like
doesn't
you
carry
see
for
these guys
long.
like gliding across the ice as opposed to
Yes.
like last year or the year before, like we were slamming dudes.
Yeah.
Like you are sprinting down the ice constantly. I feel like even though the Sharks might not be the best example of this, but the Sharks, when those younger guys hit the ice, like they're freaking fast. They
Yeah.
might not always have the best plays. They might not always get the puck on net. Like obviously they're not doing great as a team, but those guys are fast and you can see in those younger guys, they want to be on the ice and they're fighting for every single second that they're on there. We're just not
Exactly.
seeing that from the Bruins right now.
There's
In my
no fight. There's no, yeah. And that's why also, this is like half jokingly, but like bring back bag skates because you know what? I'm tired of them being tired at the beginning of the second. Like whether it's like just mental tired where they're like, you know what, I don't care enough, which like same right now, can't blame
yeah.
you. But I don't know what it is. Like it's just their
There's
legs.
no at least from what we see. You know,
Yeah,
we're not
this is all
in all the
personal.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like you and I talked about this earlier. Like there's no consequences. Like
Yes.
these guys are getting on the ice and doing the exact same thing for all 16 games so far. There's
Mm-hmm.
no consequences from what we see, except for Marchie got yelled at. Marchie got yelled at, and then his ass got in gear. And
Yep.
then Pasta got sat and got his butt in gear. Like,
Right.
It doesn't need to be to that extent, although maybe it does. You and I have opinions on that.
Right.
But like, at what point are we going to start holding our top guys accountable, right? You've got our captain, who, granted, the last few games from Archie, I feel like have been such a great improvement. I feel like, I don't know if it's the stick. We all know about Marchie's
We
longer
won't go
stick.
there.
Whatever. He tries this the past few years, tries using a longer stick. He goes back to the regular stick a few weeks later. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's that or if it's coming back from the injuries, but I feel like these last few games he's finally found his rhythm. But then you also have Pasta and Charlie McAvoy, who also wear letters, and we're just not seeing anything.
Yeah.
My sweet Charlie McAvoy.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah.
I don't know where the disconnect is. And we're also seeing like Charlie is not as physical as we've seen from him, I feel like.
Right.
We're just kind of hanging out on the ice.
Which I don't know if he's being more cautious. Like I always want to try and give the benefit of the doubt of like where he's had the past of like calls against him and stuff. So I feel like some guys like that will play more careful. But I'm also the same type of person to be like, oh, well, whatever, just truck him anyways. Like, you know what I mean? But so I don't know if it's that, if maybe he's like trying to be more cautious, but I think, yeah, we
Yeah.
need to be more physical. Also, should we just bring up Zadorov and his penalties? I mean, I didn't know it was
I
going to
was
be
going
this.
to. Literally, I was 2 seconds away from it. So go for it. Yeah.
I just, I,
How do you get one almost every single game?
and it's like, why? Like, why? And I love
And
him,
some
don't
of
get
it
me
is
wrong.
just sloppy play.
And again, I can't blame him too much because it's also like everyone is kind of doing this, but I feel like
Yeah.
when you're a new, I'm probably going to mess up this word, acquisition, when you're like new. And I know he came kind of like we knew that. Like we knew he was going to be a penalty guy.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, I didn't know like that like I don't know. We just need more from him and not in the box. We need
And
like
especially when he's a big dude. Like, he's a tall dude. He's a big dude. We've seen him be physical and be aggressive and be. We don't really have enforcers anymore, but like this new kind of line of enforcer.
mm-hmm.
You've seen him be like that kind of new line of enforcer.
Yeah.
But then he just does these really sloppy plays and is tripping guys and high sticking, and you're like, you know that you're 6 foot whatever. You know that your arms are longer than the kid standing next to you. They're
Right.
not kids, they're like all older than me. But like,
But
as
next to
someone who's
him,
been playing for how many years, like,
exactly.
come on. But again, it's everybody at the same time. He's just the one that probably is the largest getting caught.
I'd say between him and I feel like I don't know what the refs are doing. Like they're all eyes are on Pasta because I've never seen him get this many penalties. Which like part of me is like, what? Like why are you guys just like just watching him? Like it's crazy. But yeah, I feel like we're just so.
Pasta has 16 minutes in the box.
That's crazy for like a guy like him. I feel like
16 games, 16 minutes. That's a lot for him.
Yeah, which I wouldn't mind it as much if they were penalties of like roughing or like him getting into feisty, because we see him getting like a little bit tough, here and there, which I am a fan of. Obviously, I like, the like tougher guys that want to get in there and everything. So I don't hate to see it from him, but it's like some of the penalties he takes. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave. Like, why you gotta do it like that?
Yes.
But
well,
it's
I
also
think we've seen that from like Mason Lowry too. It's like, dude has been protective this year. Same with Trent. They both have been like ready to go after these guys in like being protective. And I'm like, yes.
I saw like a tweet earlier, and it was like about why like Trent hasn't been healthy scratched yet, which don't worry guys, I think it's coming, but
it's probably coming.
Yeah,
it's probably coming. He's getting sent down to Providence, then Trent's probably getting a healthy scratch soon once somebody else is on the roster.
Exactly. So, but I think the only reason is because yes, it's very slim this year so far, but he's I think only logged, I think it's been one official fight that he's logged, but he has, which I will get myself started on this actually, because I feel like the people that are wanting him to be more aggressive right now and like get into things are the same ones that if he is to do that though, then they'll be frustrated with him getting into tussles, if you want to call them, or being just like fight first mentality type of thing. So obviously I am biased, but I feel for him in the sense of like him kind of being stuck in what is my role supposed to be right now? Like, am I supposed to be one of our tougher guys who has to fight, not on a nightly a game basis, but majority of the time? Or am I supposed to be producing, assists, goals, which
And now that you're saying that, like, I feel potentially that's a little bit of a disconnect for a lot of these guys. It's
yes,
like,
yeah.
I feel like prior to this year, we've had a relatively I don't want to say like consistent roster because that's not true. Like, we know that's not true, but I feel like prior to this year, we had guys who had been here for long stints.
Yes.
So they knew their role. Everybody, like,
Yeah.
Jake DeBrusk knew what he was doing when he stepped on that ice. Like,
Yeah.
JVR knew what he was doing when he stepped on that ice. But I feel like with so many moves this year,
Yeah.
potentially that might be where some of this disconnect is coming.
Like, I wish, I'll just like touch on this briefly, but like I kind of wish we would have kept Heinen around because yes, he was a Bruin and then was gone for a little bit, but came back and it was like he had been there the whole time. Like,
yeah. And we hear it from guys all the time. The way Bruins hockey is, it's a different, like, they have a different flow. They have a different mentality. The locker room is different. The training is different. We hear it from guys all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you then get these new acquisitions into that flow faster so that we're not 7-7-2?
Right. And like, because Elias Lindholm, I'll say it, not really doing it for me right now because I was obviously expecting, I feel like most people, we were expecting much more from him. And I'm sure he's just as frustrated. Like, again, I want to give all these guys some grace because I understand if we're frustrated, I can only imagine where they're at.
Yeah.
But like pressure wise, obviously, but it's just like, also you're the professionals in the National Hockey League. So please, like, do your job. Like,
and at what point is that frustration just like spiraling and like just becoming like, the only thing I can think is like a tornado of frustration that you're just like spinning and you're spinning it and you're spinning it.
Right.
At what point does that become action for these guys? At what point, like, do you take that frustration and be like, okay, like, we're gonna have a little family chat. We're gonna sit down, like,
reel it in.
We're gonna have a little heart to heart around a round table, and everybody's gonna tell us what they can do better. Like, I don't know. Maybe those are conversations that are happening, but like,
we can only hope.
God bless, please.
Yeah,
please.
seriously.
But like, I feel like that frustration is showing on the ice, and it's like, at least to me, like, they seem pissed when these things are happening, but it's like they're not taking action to change it. Or maybe they don't know how to change it. Or like, do we need additional coaching that isn't running these plays? It's, what do I do? Like, how do I change the game when we're in the middle of the third period and we're leading and they score? Just saying. What do we do? It would never happen. Multiple games in a row in the final five.
Never. For final five.
Somebody, I just want to have a talk. Just quick side note. You know, Ford sponsors, you know, the final five. They also sponsor, is it our penalty play or our penalty kill? One of them.
Someone fact check us on that. It's one of them.
I'm just saying, things that Ford sponsors aren't going well.
No, so can we switch it up? Is that where you're going?
I'm gonna blame it on Ford. I'm gonna say that we need a new sponsor. Yeah, and that's gonna fix everything. Listen,
let's get
I'm just a girl.
Subaru.
I'm just a girl.
Something. Yeah, I'm just a girl. That's gonna be our hashtag. Just girls.
I'm just girls. I'm so not serious, folks. Please do not take me for a dumb little girl on the internet. I'm not serious, but I kind of am.
We're much more than that. But
I got a t-shirt that says it. But like, at what point do those other conversations start happening of like, okay, situationally, they just scored to tie it up. You've got 10 minutes left in the third. Here's some mental work. And I know like Sway is so big on mental work as well. So like, at what point are there other things potentially that the team needs to look into besides just like running plays and all of that shit? Ford final five facts. We love it. We
The
need a new sponsor.
Bruins. Yeah.
That's funny.
Ford, I
Ugh.
do need a car though, so if you want to sponsor me, I do need a car. No, I'm kidding.
Or if you see this, we love you.
We
We're
never
so
said anything bad about you.
It's not your fault.
It's the guys.
It's just 5 minutes.
Yeah. Just some time.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Which I think this is a great time. Speaking of sway.
Should we do it?
Let's do it. So we're about to ruffle all of your feathers.
All the feathers.
And we say this with all of the love in our hearts. And we love all of these men. I'm scared to say it. We love all of these men on this team, and they all contribute to our team in such a big way, especially our goalies.
Yes.
And we love our goalies, and we appreciate our goalies, and we have 2 incredible goalies.
Give me more Corpy.
What's that?
Give me more Corpy. I'll say it.
Just one of our goalies is doing better than the other, and it's not the one anybody expected.
Right. And I understand they've got different.
Run away.
Right. Run. They got different, numbers of starts, obviously. But, I feel when we were talking earlier, we were saying Sway does well with like some competition too.
Yeah.
So why not just while we're running with everything crazy with the lines?
Yeah.
Let's play Corpy 2-3 games in a row. Why not? Hey, don't shoot the messenger.
Corpy needs more of the net. I think, listen, I think Sway is great. I think he's worth the money. Obviously. I think when he's on top of his game, absolutely, he's my first choice.
Exactly.
But he hasn't been. And I think for somebody that we've seen big consistency from earlier, like playoffs last year, I feel like such great consistency. And we know that Sway thrives when he's really on his mental game.
Yes.
But I think he also really thrives when he has competition. And I think that's something he had last year that I'm not saying like he doesn't look at Corpy like he's competition, but I think potentially like coaches need to play into that a little bit. And I think Corpy's numbers are also better than Sway's. I think at some point, like Corpy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go some of their stats. So Sway has 11 games. Corpy has 6. There's the one where we pulled Sway and Corpy went in. Mm-hmm. So Swayman has 4 wins, 5 losses, 2 overtime losses. Corpy has 3 wins, 2 losses. Goals against per game, Sway is 3.13 and Corpy's at 2.72. So we're both sitting around that 3 goals margin. But Corpy is doing better. His save percentage is better. Like, I mean, time in the net, obviously Sway has a lot more time right now. But I think when you're looking at the stats, like Corpy statistically has more wins.
Right.
His save percentage is better and his goal against is lower. Like, and he wants it.
Right. I was just going to say that. Like, with Corpy, I feel like and again, not saying that Sway doesn't put his 100% effort into the game, because naturally he does. But I feel like with Corpy, there's like, these guys have access to the internet. They see what gets said about them, Yeah. And you figure he wants to go into every game trying to be like, listen, I got this. Like, you guys need to believe in me and accept me on your team because I can perform for you and I can win games for you. Like, and you want, like, there's only so much you can talk about goaltending with, like, the defense and stuff. Because, yes, defense is a whole other, what is that saying? Like, can of worms that we, like, won't open right now. But there does come down to, like, there is a goaltending contender because that's a skill as well. Like stopping,
Yeah.
whether it's a puck, whether it's a ball, whatever. Like
Yeah.
a goalie has to stop some things that are just going to come through and are going to happen. So I want to see Corpy in more, like,
Yeah.
just in more games, I guess, in general, just to see him in
And I
different
think he has the
situations.
confidence too.
Yeah.
Like,
And he wants it really bad. Yeah.
yeah, I think you see them in the net, and I think Sway always has this like swagger to him. Like,
Yeah.
dude loves the freaking camera. I feel like his
Yeah.
Bakken videos are hilarious every time.
He loves a
So,
good
like,
wink at the camera every time. Yeah.
and Nesson always loves to play up the wink, which I think is funny too.
Yeah. Loves the drama. Yeah.
Yes. So I think like that swagger though, like isn't translating as soon as he steps on the ice.
Right.
Or and that's not what we usually see from him. We usually see these consistent saves, and they both have made huge saves.
Yeah.
But I think one thing we've noticed is that there's also a lot of easy goals going in. He's making these huge saves on these really complicated plays, and then it's a really easy play that a goal gets in with Swayman.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's weird.
It is. It's weird.
And it's not what we usually see from him. But I think he thrives really well under pressure and under competition. So I think potentially, in my humble, I've never coached hockey before opinion, like he needs a few games of like, I mean, I think they all need a few games of see how that plays out
and watch. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I think Corpy needs a little bit more of the net because like, statistically, he's just been on game better.
Yeah. And I'd like to see him in, you know, they don't want to say they put in guys depending on the team and whatnot, but like they clearly do. You know what I mean? And I want to see Corpy in some games that are, you know, Vegas level or like Dallas level or Toronto. Like I want to see him in some bigger, using their language, bigger games, just to see, you know, I don't know. I don't know whether I feel for the guy or I see some like little gem of like, you know.
I think there's just like this fight in him.
It's like there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to see more of it, and I want to see where
it can go.
Yes.
Because I will say everyone always, I'll give more flowers to goalie coach Bob because he does obviously work really well. So I want to see what he's doing with Corpy. And I feel like Brick and Judd said it a lot the other night, that you can see some of the little things that you're like, okay, goalie Bob helped him get there and do that.
Yes.
And I want to see more because I think we have seen over and over again how well he can do.
Yeah.
He can do that with Corpy, I think. So let's see it. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liv, originally we were going to be talking about Tyler Johnson, but I think that gets tabled. And I think we talk about Maddie.
I think we do, because we were unaware that this news was going to drop, and we can tuck Tyler away for later. Yeah.
I don't know how to process this news still. Like, you know, it's also like he's not gone forever. Like, but you know, I feel like when we've seen Potsy be relatively consistent, and you see, from my perspective, I feel like he's gelling so well, right? We have this group of guys that has been doing so much promo.
Yep.
Shout out Bruins marketing promo team because you're doing great. But you have this group of guys who's been doing all of this promo work over the last few weeks for the team, been going to events, been in all the pictures, been doing all of the fun, crazy, weird things that our marketing team is asking of them. And one of those guys is Potsy. And you see these guys gelling with each other because they're doing all of these fun, crazy, weird things. So it just feels really weird that you have somebody that is not the worst guy on the ice. He's not our best guy on the ice, but he's just kind of in the middle. He's adaptable to wherever they've thrown him over the last few games.
Yes.
Whoever they've thrown him with. He knows the Bruins team, the Bruins training. This isn't his first year with us.
Yeah.
It just feels really weird to have this guy who's like been a relatively consistent guy, maybe not in points, maybe not in, some of the things we're looking for,
Right.
but consistent, gelling with the rest of the team, especially the younger guys. Feels like he's bringing in these guys who are newer to the team, making sure that they kind of find their place. Him and Mason and Trent have kind of been like with these newer guys, really bringing them in. And we send him down to Providence.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, especially because, maybe people wanted him to have like 10 goals already or whatever, but like where the team is at right now, that doesn't matter. What matters is like the effort, the heart, the want, and like just everything in between. And I feel like he's one of the only ones that I haven't been like, does he even want to be here? Does he even want to be playing? Like, he's been there. Like, he wants to be a Bruin. And it's really confusing because, not to call out Morgan Geeky, but we've been sitting him for so long. We could have just as easily sent him down to Providence, because I was unaware of this, but I saw it online like a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
He's still like restricted right now. So I don't think, if like, now this is where I don't know everything and people can come for me, whatever. I don't know how his waivers would work, or if that means he can just go up and down, which I don't think that is the case. I think he would have to go to waivers, but I mean, I don't know. It's just Maddie P shouldn't have been the one to to go.
Well, and I'm also just looking at like points wise right now. Maddie has 3 assists and 1 goal.
He's giving, and when other people are not. Like,
and yeah, Geeky has 2 assists. That's it.
And it's like, I'm very curious to see how the game goes tomorrow. I don't mind Morgan Geeky, so I wouldn't hate to see him have a great game tomorrow and really come back like on fire. But I just don't know if that's going to happen either, So,
well, and we're also now traveling. How many guys down? 2 guys down? 3?
Yeah.
We've got a few spots. We're traveling short.
Right.
Unless they call somebody up today. I don't know who they would call up though.
I know.
Tufty? No, thank you. This is a no thank you. Please. Right. I mean, but listen, he's been on his game since he went down.
Yeah, he has been real good
in Providence.
I'll say some players just do well in Providence. And yeah, they probably want to be in the NHL, but like, you're gonna just do better down there. Like,
I think Brownie's a great example of that. Patrick Brown,
and he's captain now
of Providence,
which, hey, good for him.
Yeah,
great guy.
Yeah, I think there have been moments where he's been really great for the Boston Bruins, but I think he really excels with the Bruins.
Yeah,
I think Tufty has been really great since he's gone down. I think he has scored in his last 3 games, maybe. Nobody quote me on that. But he's done really well since he went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jones, too, has done well since he went down. And maybe it's the fire. Maybe, that's what they needed to get their butts in gear.
Mm-hmm.
But I think then you also have guys like Tyler Johnson who sat in Boston for 6 weeks without a contract from a team, right? We saw him on the ice at a few practices. Yep. We knew he was hanging out with the guys. We knew he was doing some training with the guys, but he didn't have a contract with the team at all. Just chilling, and didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's great that we have him on the team. I'm still kind of waiting for more, but I also think it's like, okay, you now are 6 weeks behind everybody else.
Exactly.
So it's going to take a second.
Yeah.
But I don't know who we would call up from Providence.
The one that I know everyone wants to say Lysell or Merck, which I think Lysell is like hurt right now anyways, but
Yeah.
Trevor Kuntar, like I'd
Yeah.
always butcher his last name, but I really would like to see him like
Yeah.
up
Because he
here.
was up for preseason, right?
He was,
Yeah.
and I think he would be one that would do very well, like getting adjusted up here and then gelling into. Like I could see him very well on our third line, like whoever that
Yeah.
ends up being. Because again, I don't want to touch the fourth line particularly, so I could
Listen,
just
give
see
the
him.
fourth line more time, but leave them as they are.
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, we just need like the solidness that is that, like, so that we can at least fall back on the fourth line.
Yeah.
But I know it is tricky though, because it's like who else? There's no one else really. Again, I'll say to Joey Abate, I think he could be a good call up. But
Yeah.
again, strictly for like kind of like the feistiness, like
Yes.
if we need someone to, and again, not saying he like can't produce like goal wise or whatever, but if we just want someone that we can just be like, go ahead, go, not take unnecessary penalties and be rough in a stupid way, but like to just have a base enforcer type of guy, I
Yeah.
think could help us in like a big way just to feel more comfortable. And again, not saying he should go like fight some guy like Reed
No.
or something, but just like to
Trent
know.
and Mason have the fighting covered right now. I think we're good.
Yeah, I know, which is like crazy because obviously I love to see Trent fight and get feisty, but I'm also like, you gotta get goals. Now that we know you can shoot, which I have been saying for a while that he really can rip a great shot, and they say it all the time too that like besides I think Pasta, he's like the one that scores the most in practice.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think too he's not shooting enough obviously, but like who is? But so I'd like to see more shots, but I don't know how I got to talking to Trent about Trent, but
You're great. You're good.
I don't know. It's just but yeah, I would like to see. I don't know who else they could call up either. That's where, people can chime in and tell us who
Yeah.
who you
Yeah.
think call
Let
up.
us know who you want coming up from Providence.
Yeah. And what other like change like I don't really know what I would do with the roster at this point with what
That's
he
the
does.
thing is like there's nobody besides maybe Geeky. Although like listen, I'm looking at our stats right now, face-off percentage. He has won 68% of his face-offs.
Yeah.
And then you look at Maddie, he's at 50.9%.
Yeah.
But that's really like the only huge difference in their stats that I'm looking at right now. But there's nobody on our current roster that I'm like, because
Right.
listen, they're all kind of just hanging out, floating around, not really doing much.
No.
Like but there's nobody that I'm like, okay, set them down. They need some time to develop. Right. They need some time to get some skills. They need more reps. They need the longer practice. Like these guys just have to find a rhythm.
Something. Like something has just got to happen. Like
yeah.
Which I don't know how long we'll be saying that, but
yeah.
It just feels like and I've probably been saying this for 2 weeks, but it seems as if it's going to be soon. Like it just has to be.
It has to be. There has to be something that changes soon, which I think this is a great lead into like looking at this week, right? So we play the Blues tomorrow. We're at Dallas Thursday. We play the Blues at home Saturday afternoon. What do you think they need to focus on this week for these games? I think the Stars is going to be a really big game. Yeah. I think playing the same team twice in a week is always a little bit of a pressure cooker because it's like, okay, however you perform in game one against them, you then have to compare it to 5 days later. So what do you think like they need to focus on this week to really get going?
I feel like obviously it's like an obvious one, but I would honestly rather them beat St. Louis both times, and I'd be okay with like an overtime situation or a loss to Dallas if we just guarantee that we beat St. Louis both times. Because I don't know, but obviously I feel like we are a team that can beat Dallas as well. Like
We put up a good fight last game.
We did. And
against the Stars.
You know, we're in between. I feel like we're in between Tampa and I want to say Dallas in the standings. Maybe I'm totally off, but I think we're still like pretty equal to Dallas in the sense that it should be a good game. And I just want to see more shots. Like they just need to take more shots.
I'm sick of just like playing keep away from each other. Yeah, right. Dallas is right above us. Lightning is right below us.
So I feel like looking at it that way too, it's like a no-brainer that it should be like a close game, but like a good game.
We have 16 points, and Dallas also has 16 points.
Okay.
Tampa, Oilers and Utah all have 15, and Islanders and Sabres. Okay. I feel so much better about our team right now.
I know. I do too, actually. And people, listen, this is really pointing to how spoiled we were the past 2 seasons because we were like sweating it, and now we're like, okay, wait. And every other team is like, relax, take a deep breath.
We're 16 games in, we have 16 points. I mean, listen, the Jets have only lost 1 game. They're at 28 points.
Right. And it could be a lot worse. It could be so much worse, you know? So I think we just have to take everything with there's a silver line.
The Preds have 11. Habs, Sharks, Flyers, Ducks, and Blue Jackets all have 12. I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right. That's better. Yeah.
We could still be, you know, at 10 or God forbid at a single digit still. Oh my gosh. That'd be horrendous.
R.I.P. Arizona Coyotes.
R.I.P.
Been their situation in the past. Yeah, I agree though. I think we got to work on this neutral zone.
Yeah,
I think I don't know why we're like, here you go, here's the puck. I didn't really want to go into my zone with it. Here you are. Like, I'm kind of over that shenanigans. But like I'm also over the 17 bajillion passes before we try to shoot. Yeah. I think for me, those are the 2 things that I would really love to see happen over the next few games. Especially because like you got a couple travel days and then you're home. Like,
yeah. I'd like to see them just win all of them. We need to get some momentum that like actually stays for more than 2 games.
I was just about to
say, I honestly would like to see them. I don't know when their first like longer-ish road trip is, but I'd like to see them get on one. I feel like they need some time away from home, honestly, for like a longer period of time.
I think it's always honestly like good when we do that. It looks like December 10th through the 19th is all the way.
I'll take that. Like, that's not, if we could just, I don't know, do well until then and then win everything there.
I feel like there's something that happens with this team, and maybe it's how Monty sets it up when they travel, but there's something that always happens when we have a longer away stint that like these guys come back ready.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they're all in bed early, like little teenagers at a sleepaway camp. They're all in bed early and they're all waking up on time.
Yeah.
Like they get some good food and some good rest.
Right. Seriously. Some hotel cartoons, you know. Can't beat it.
Anything else for this week, Liv? Or you think that that wraps it for our first ep?
I think that can wrap it up for our first one. I feel pretty good about this, actually.
I like it.
Yeah.
Guys, we are super excited. We're pumped. Yeah. We're just 2 little girls who like hockey.
Yeah. So be nice. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, for real.
Release it all. Yeah, no.
We're emotional.
Yeah.
You can find us on Twitter at Causeway Chirps for the podcast, or we said them earlier, but mine is Hyper Emmy. Liv's is Front Frederick. You can also follow Boston Sports Entertainment Network at BSEN_617. If you want cool shirts like mine to support the podcast,
hey, there we go.
whichever way we are,
whichever
they are
way.
on our website. The link is in the bio for the podcast and sports network. And what else, Liv? Anything else you can think of?
No, I think this is good.
Cool.
This is a good
All
start.
right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us for our first episode.
Woo! Thanks,
Our
guys.
team.
Go Bruins.
Go Bruins.
Yes.